Hi, I'm Adam Kunzmiller with BGG TV, and we're here at Gen Con 2014. I'm joined by Anton Torres with Fantasy Flight,
Howdy.
and we're here to look at XCOM, the board game. I'm excited, so tell me about XCOM, the board game.
All right, so we have been thinking about what we can do to bridge tabletop games and digital games. We love tabletop games. We are a tabletop game company. However, there's a great number of these digital devices in the world, whether it's an iPod or an Android device or a desktop or a laptop. And so we've been thinking about this for quite a long time. Eric Lang is someone with whom we have worked quite a bit. He's a fantastic designer. He likes to come up with off-the-wall ideas. So we're just going to the quick pitch is, can we design a game where the digital component is a requirement? And to fulfill the vision, it could not be a gimmick, so it's not just to serve as sound effects or just to replace a deck of cards.
Track information or something like that.
It couldn't be something that you're already doing with analog components, but at the same time, it had to be something that could not be reproduced by analog components. Right. If so, then, hey, we can bridge both the board components, the cards, the players, and the app. And now we have XCOM, the board game.
Awesome.
All right, so if you've ever played XCOM or not, you are all members of the XCOM Defense Force, and you are trying to stave off the alien invasion as it comes into orbit, and then finally UFOs are flying and haranguing different continents on the map. This is for 1 to 4 players, and the digital component is an absolute necessity. I know I've seen questions online as to whether or not this was optional or could be replaced.
So you cannot play it without some sort of device to take part of the digital part.
That is correct. The app is free, and again, it supports Android, iOS, and there will be a web page. So if you don't have either device, at the end of the day, you get on the web, you can play. 1 to 4 players. Each of the 4 players takes on one specific role. There are 4 roles in the game that are radically different, like many cooperative games. But here, you're actually engaged in a set of responsibilities unique to that role. It isn't just that you have greater movement than another player. Right. You can take double actions or something. There's a chief scientist. There's the squad leader, the commander, and the central officer.
So the different roles have different responsibilities as well.
They have entirely different responsibilities. And so you have to work together. You have to not only get good at managing your own set of responsibilities, the resources available to you, whether it's soldiers on the ground or sending fighter squadrons out to deal with the UFOs that are in different countries, researching technology if you happen to be the chief scientist, and that impacts all the other players, or the central officer that really focuses on mediating between the app and the players, and also being that point, that one person who's looking at the 50,000-foot overview.
The coordinator.
Right, trying to pay attention to all as everyone's so deeply immersed in their particular needs, is to keep a sane eye on what the heck is going on and what is needed, okay? The rule book is this.
Wow.
Okay, the rule book is exactly 4 pages, and one of those pages is a
layout.
Is a board layout. So the rules are really in the application. The final released app will have help text so that if you touch items, you'll see more descriptive text, but the app drives the game. Okay? So far so good?
So far so good,
So
yeah.
let's say if we were going to come and play, we decide how many players. Let's say we had 4 players. What difficulty? This scales up. We would start with easy mode. But if we went with tutorial mode, we'll actually be stepped through, that will step us through the setup.
One of the reasons you can have a 4-page rulebook, right?
Absolutely. You would start at tutorial mode and literally put the components out, and the app will take you through learning the game and playing.
That's great.
So for easy mode, this establishes the setup. There's a lot of variety in cards. The app drives activity, but this is still a board game. It just has a digital component. So we're instructed which invasion plan is going to be the one that we are fighting against. There are several. The aliens are very crafty. So the invasion plan goes out. Squad leader then adds the Thin Man, Sectoid, and Floater aliens. So the aliens from which you are that you're going to invade the base, that changes game to game. And then all the aliens are different. Even the Thin Man, for example, each alien card has different abilities. So there's tons of variety in the game. Then we are instructed that our HQ is in North America. So that also changes how we are going to regard the threat and the panic level in each of these countries. Panic tokens then are set up. All of this information and the details that are established are all relevant. It isn't just a randomizer.
Right.
So it is setting up the board state. Here we see certain continents are at a higher or lower level of panic. As countries have UFOs that appear and you cannot clear them in time, and other crisis events are going to drive panic
They
level
get
up.
more panic.
That is going to cause the funding for some of what you are out to accomplish to reduce. Sometimes it increases it. It all depends on what's going on globally across the board.
So it sounds like just like the game that it's based on, you have to really manage those different things where they're attacking different continents and you can only deal with one thing at a time or stuff like that. Yeah, that's great.
So all of those details are established and you begin round one. At this point, we're already on the timer. Okay.
Oh wow.
Now, new technology is available. There's a chief scientist would now need to select, would draw from the technology deck into their hand. Now, 12 credits, the XCOM budget. The commander then takes a budget of $12 billion, right? Each token is worth $1 billion. This timer then is going to continue and step us through.
It feels frenetic already.
It already does. I'm going to pause it for a second. In the easy game, and you can pause the timer with no penalty. Once you're comfortable, there is a limited amount of time that you're allowed to pause.
It's like one of your resources.
It is one of your resources. And then as you successfully accomplish things more quickly, you will sort of gain more buffers. So you're really incentivized to think clearly, communicate across the table, keep the other players in the loop so that they understand what your needs are, where your concerns are, so that when they have the opportunity to take an action, you'll at least start to accumulate more.
So it might be
pause
better
time.
to do a pretty good thing right away than a great thing after a long debate.
Absolutely. Because then you will run out of time.
Right.
Running out of time means that you've lost that moment of opportunity. So here, choose the mission. The squad leader gets to choose a mission, and you go on and on. The timer continues. Here we have 22 seconds left. Once you have accomplished the task, it is the central officer's responsibility to tap
to move on.
Right, and sort of move that clock forward. So there's a crisis. Crisis cards then would be drawn. The commander would draw 2, and then choose one of the 2 to put it face down, so players are not aware. The other one goes to the bottom of the deck.
And the commander doesn't get to see them either, or
the commander does.
okay, so he draws 2, picks 1.
We'll make a choice.
Got it.
And we step through, assign research. So maybe we'll talk about the roles. So this will step us through all of the portions of the round. All right. Maybe briefly talk about the roles. Central officer already responsible for mediating between the app and the players, right, and sort of being that point of focus so they are clear as to what are our needs, what countries are about to go into panic, what technology would really be useful.
And so that person would be holding the iPad, I assume.
They would have that, or they would be responsible for both informing the players at what point we are, and then coordinating between them. They also then will assign satellites. There's another resource they have available, so when aliens come into orbit, okay, and have yet to appear on a continent, they have the ability to put satellites out to try and monitor, to give you an edge for knowing where they're headed, which is good. What other? We have the commander. The commander is responsible for funding. Right, all of these actions take money, and again, there's a portion at the start of each round where you're informed what is your budget. That budget will fluctuate depending on how successful or unsuccessful you are. If you're given lots of money and you do poorly, well, they're going to pull back funding. They're probably going to invest that elsewhere, and you will see that you will feel its effects at the table. So commander deals with funding, resolves the crisis cards, right? These things in secret will establish a stack of cards that will be resolved later, and then sends interceptors out. And the interceptors are these awesome tokens. The interceptors are placed at different points around where there are UFOs generally, right? Squad leader. Squad leader deals with units on the ground, right? You will begin with a small number of soldiers represented by these plastic tokens. There are 4 different types of soldiers.
You can see the different types here.
Right, and sniper, and there's the heavy unit, and these individuals are usually sent to protect the base. So aliens will spawn, they'll try to infiltrate your base, and you'll be committing soldiers to try and fight the aliens off. But the aliens will also be used as you are fulfilling the mission, and after you fill a certain number of missions that are out on the board, right? The app will tell you when you can attempt to achieve the final mission, right? And that's one of the elements at the start of the game is what is our final win condition? What is it that we know we are inevitably going to need to accomplish?
And that's going to vary based on which mission you're doing.
That varies on the mission, but then the timing, the app will just tell you when it is that you can bring that one into play.
Got it.
So there's a lot of information that's kept hidden. The application is handling the interrelationship of all of these elements.
Calculating how your budget is changing based on the actions you've taken and stuff like that, all handled by the app?
All handled by the app in the background. So let's see, UFOs are detected. Let me just step through here. Maybe one thing that we'll see, enemies in the base. Up at the top of the screen, the central officer will also see at times UFOs
like blip on the screen?
As a blip, so you have a sense of when of what continents these UFOs will appear, and it's up to them to remember when and where they will appear.
Yeah.
So they're being given more information.
So because you're using an app, you can really truly have hidden information and like just show it for a second, and then later it'll appear there. And if they send an interceptor there because the communications officer was on top of it, they're in good hands.
Absolutely.
Right?
Now there are also times when the communication is affected by the aliens. So if you don't successfully remove the aliens from your base, for example, you don't turn them away, that can affect communications, and then that information may be incorrect. So that
and you have no way of knowing.
You have no idea.
That's really cool.
Right, but that's the timed round. So we've all taken multiple actions in whatever order the application has instructed us. And then we step to the resolution phase. So everyone takes a breath and sits there and thinks, oh my gosh, what have we done? And then this resolution phase is something that with which you will grow very familiar. Once you've played, you won't need this list.
Sure.
You just sort of step through each station at a time. But the first thing you will do is audit the budget. Right? There's a resource, which is these $1 billion credits.
Right.
Okay. Every action, every figure that you place out, every officer that is sent to try and turn the aliens back, every technology, every scientist that is committed to researching a particular technology costs money. And it's conveniently $1 billion per.
Sure.
So there's this resource. You hope the commander has been keeping track and keeping everybody honest, but you audit the budget, and whether you're successful or not is important, and it'll affect future funding. You recruit soldiers, you will gain new units, you'll build new interceptors, and then one at a time you resolve the crises, right? So for example, here, discard researched tech. Right, so you may have invested money and time and scientists to research a piece of technology.
And you may be planning on using it too.
You may have, the whole strategy might have surrounded around a particular asset or a particular technology, and you've discarded it. Here, the technology cards are color-coded to match each of the stations. So there are technologies that, once they are researched successfully, will be handed to a particular, each technology is assigned to a particular player. So here, satellite targeting. It takes 3 successes, right? And this, when it is researched successfully, will go to the central officer, right? And so this will change their actions and their opportunities over the course of a round to take particular actions in the game. Here, place a satellite here and reduce the threat level by 1. So these are just, let's see, alien alloys. So you research alien alloys. The chief scientist in the future can add tech cards from the discard pile.
So even though you're now in kind of a resolution phase, which we've seen in other games, there's still decisions to make sometimes, right? Like which tech to get rid of or stuff like that?
There will be. So let's see, resolve crises. One at a time you're going to resolve. Some of them are just taking action. So resolve the base damage effect on the invasion plan. The invasion plan, again, is what it is you were trying to accomplish. Let's see if here's one. Nope, it's in the box. But you will step through, then it's not important. So resolve research. When you resolve research, the chief scientist will, over the course of the turn, will have placed out a number of technologies to research. And one at a time, we'll try, with the scientists' resources that they've committed, we'll try to actually successfully research that technology. And there's a value here in the successes. And this luckily, this is a 1, 2, and 3. So the dice in the game, there's an alien die, which is the red die, and there are these success dice. Based on the number of scientists, you will roll 1 die for each scientist. You will also always roll the alien die. And this element is push your luck. So the decision is great. I'm going to research alien alloys. Let's say I had 1 scientist. Here's the token. I had 1 scientist assigned to research alien alloys, and we're now in this portion of the phase where I'm going to go through. I roll one of the blue dice. It has blanks, and that's success. And I'll also roll the alien dice. Okay, here I rolled a success, and that actually is enough to successfully research this tech. But this alien die is related to this threat level. Starts at 1. If when you roll the number that matches or is lower than the threat level, the resources that were committed there will suffer some penalties. So the scientists are out for a turn, essentially. If there were units and you're defending the base, the units will be destroyed. So there's this push your luck element. You can roll the dice as many times as you want. Each time that you choose to re-roll, the threat level will go up. And that is per. It's different
so it resets
for
at each station.
In this case, it resets for each tech.
Okay.
For the unit in defending the base, it doesn't reset until you're done with
the
all
whole
of
thing.
your base actions or all of your mission actions. So there's a push your luck element at resolution, and you're looking at limited resource and like, do I go for it? It's going to be expensive to research, to get new scientists. I don't know that we can invest in new units, or we need those for next turn. You're going to be making tough choices even in the resolution phase. That's the whole point of that roundabout.
Sure.
So there's push your luck going on. You go through each station, right? At the end, you return your units to reserve, right? Sort of reset, and you click next, and then the app will request some board state. Are there any UFOs in orbit?
So that's how the app figures out what you've accomplished with your rolls and things like that.
This is where it is given the information that is relevant to the next round. So are there UFOs in orbit? Let's just say yes, there are 3. Has the XCOM base been destroyed? Right, there's a level here to track the number of times that it's been attacked, and it hits here, it's destroyed. Let's say no, it's not destroyed. Was the mission completed this round? No. Great. This tells us this confirms that information, and then we would mark if countries will track their panic level here. There's a token for each continent on the map. When they hit the red, they are in panic. The yellow area, their panic level can subside. Like if we take certain actions, if we research certain tech, if we resolve certain crises, that can go down. Once they're in panic mode in red, you're done. They will never go back below red. So then you mark whatever countries have reached panic, confirm. In this case, that's enough to lose the game, right? 2 countries in panic. But normally you enter that in, and it says, great, next round. Again, you start the timed round, and again, you begin.
And how long does a typical time round last?
It's a great question. I have only played this and I haven't timed it. It feels like seconds. It feels like 30 seconds.
I mean, even just watching it and not actually playing, I was getting nervous. Like, that's going really fast. We got to do whatever that is.
I wish I knew. I wish Eric was here. Unfortunately, he isn't. I actually don't know.
Do you know the overall play time?
I think we're
What's this clocking in at?
Maybe 60 to 90 minutes, 45 to 90 minutes. It all depends on how horribly you let the world go.
And how long you're taking on the resolution phase.
How long you're taking, at what level you are playing. If you're using the pause button on easy mode, you can pause interminably and just discuss things ad nauseum. It is a game that it has a lot of elements that are familiar, where people have different responsibilities. But after the first round of play, the first time I played this, everything that I was responsible for was clear. Like I was dealing with the units here. I was a squad leader. And suddenly my responsibility was clear. And now it became a question of, what can I inform? Well, how can I communicate to the other players? What is it that I have available? What sort of needs, what sort of technology is coming out that might help us? It's interesting. It's interesting.
It seems like a mix of you know, a lot of these cooperative games suffer from that, you know, one person being the alpha person that just directs everybody what to do, but you've
Sure.
got so much time pressure in your own thing that you're focusing on. But if you've managed to do that, you can still contribute, and you can still say, like, you know, maybe we need to do this now because, you know, stuff. It's an interesting mix.
That's a great point. In this particular game, the 4 roles are essential. If you played with 3 players, one of the players would take 2 of the roles. So the entire game, the application, the mechanics, you know, the boards, the card elements, they require these 4 roles to be filled.
Right. And the app knows how many players there are, so if you have less than the total, it will, I assume, account for that in the time.
Adjust. It will adjust, right? To allow you to multitask. But you will have a full game experience regardless of the role that you are given.
Sure.
And for some players, actually, I heard comments from the staff that there are certain roles that they know, hey, I have people that aren't heavy gamers, that may not, that are a little resistant. There are certain roles that would be better or less suited, right? Because some are more high pressure. Squad leader is very tough. Technology officer is a little more forgiving. You can
Sure.
be looking at the cards as the turn is going, sort of be prepared.
So now the big question, when are people going to be able to get their hands on this?
We're hoping end of the year. We're looking Q4
End of the year,
20,
all right.
2014, late year. If you're at Gen Con, please demo. We have 2 tables running for the entire show. It's a hoot. It's a lot of fun. Try it for yourself.
All right, well, this looks really exciting. You've got some really cool things going on here. So once again, that was XCOM, the board game.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right.